was supposed to be a routine rehearsal, a step in preparation for the largest amphibious invasion the world had ever seen. But on the morning of April 28, 1944, the beaches of Slapton Sands in Devon, England became a crucible of chaos, fire, and confusion. Operation Tiger, as the Allies called it, was designed to simulate the landings that would soon define D-Day. Thousands of soldiers would move, land, and retreat under controlled conditions, testing tactics, communication, and logistics. On paper, it was perfect, a flawless rehearsal to iron out the wrinkles before Normandy. What they didn't realize was that perfection could be deadly. Over 2,000 American troops, primarily from the 4th Infantry Division, embarked on landing craft under overcast skies. The English Channel churned, gusts slashing spray across steel hulls, radio transmissions crackled with static. Miscommunication had already begun. The planners had envisioned a smooth coordination between naval bombardment, landing craft, and shore units. Each timing window was calculated down to the minute. Yet even before the first wave struck the shore, warning signs whispered that disaster was already lurking beneath the waves. A sudden storm, mild by nature, combined with inexperienced crews and mechanical quirks. Radios failed, landing craft engines sputtered. Soldiers, already tense, struggled to maintain formation. The delicate orchestration of hundreds of moving pieces was beginning to unravel silently. And then from the horizon came an unexpected threat. German E-boats, swift torpedo boats patrolling the channel, had detected the convoy. Intelligence reports had underestimated their presence in the area. What the Allies assumed was a secure rehearsal zone was in reality a hunting ground. At 2:00 a.m., chaos struck. Explosions tore through landing craft. Shouts pierced the wind and the surf. Men flung themselves into icy water, some trapped by harnesses and tangled gear. Confusion reigned as officers attempted to coordinate evacuation and defense simultaneously. Within minutes, hundreds of soldiers were dead or wounded. Many would never see home again. The tragedy was compounded by a critical oversight. Live fire exercises were ongoing on the same stretch of coast. Allied tanks and artillery meant to simulate enemy fire inadvertently added to the carnage. Smoke, gunfire, and panic screams blurred together. Soldiers could no longer distinguish friend from foe. The incident would claim the lives of 749 Americans, making Operation Tiger one of the deadliest training exercises in history. Yet for decades, the story remained largely classified, hidden beneath layers of wartime secrecy. Historians would later uncover that the disaster offered grim lessons. Communication failures, underestimated enemy presence, and logistical miscalculations foreshadowed the challenges that awaited the Allies on the beaches of Normandy. It was a rehearsal meant to ensure victory, but it became a nightmarish preview of war's indiscriminate toll. As dawn approached over Slapton Sands, the scale of the catastrophe became painfully clear. The water churned with debris, overturned landing craft, and the bodies of men who had been mere hours earlier full of hope and purpose. Survivors clung to wreckage, their uniforms soaked, their faces etched with disbelief and shock. The officers on the shore attempted to reestablish order, but the beach had become a landscape of chaos. Communications lines, both radio and signal, were fractured. Some landing craft had failed to reach the shore at all, stranded by mechanical failure or misjudged currents. Others arrived late, colliding with waves of men already exhausted and disoriented. This disaster was not born of enemy fire alone. The live fire exercises, intended to replicate German coastal defenses, had added layers of deadly confusion. Artillery shells landed perilously close to friendly units. Tanks maneuvered along the sand with imprecise coordination. Smoke from simulated explosions merged with the rising mist, reducing visibility to mere meters. Soldiers reported hearing shouting, gunfire, and the roar of engines all at once, their senses overwhelmed. What was intended to be a drill now became a test of survival. Instructors and commanding officers worked frantically to direct troops to safer zones, but panic spread faster than orders could be given. Meanwhile, the German E-boats continued their patrols, adding a chilling element of real threat to the simulation. Although no further attacks occurred, the knowledge that enemy vessels were near compounded the tension and terror. Every soldier on the water knew that even a routine movement could become lethal. The aftermath revealed a pattern of systemic failures. Equipment maintenance had been insufficient. Some landing craft engines were underpowered or poorly serviced. Radios malfunctioned at critical moments. Navigational errors placed units in incorrect positions, further fragmenting the chain of command. Medical personnel faced their own horrors. Casualties were widespread and difficult to locate amidst the stormy waters and scattered troops. Many wounded soldiers suffered from hypothermia, drowning, or injuries caused by their own training exercises. Triage stations, hastily established, were overwhelmed. The magnitude of suffering underscored how training, even under controlled conditions, could mirror the unpredictability of real combat. Despite the chaos, commanders learned crucial lessons that would inform D-Day itself. The dangers of poor communication, the necessity of rehearsals in varied conditions, and the importance of clear coordination between naval and ground units became painfully obvious. Yet for the men who survived, the horror of Slapton Sands would linger. Operation Tiger would remain a solemn reminder that preparation for war is not without its own deadly cost. By midday, the true scope of Operation Tiger's disaster was apparent. The beach was littered with debris, overturned landing craft, broken equipment, and personal belongings scattered in the sand. The survivors, shivering and exhausted, formed small groups, helping the wounded and attempting to account for missing comrades. Investigators and commanding officers moved among the chaos, piecing together the sequence of failures. Each revelation was more alarming than the last. Miscommunications had delayed reinforcements. Mechanical failures had immobilized critical landing craft, and the live-fire exercises meant to simulate German resistance had tragically added to the death toll. The human toll was staggering. Nearly 750 soldiers had perished, many drowning in cold waters or crushed by equipment. Hundreds more were injured, some permanently. In an instant, what had been a controlled rehearsal had become one of the deadliest training disasters of the entire war. Despite the devastation, the lessons of Operation Tiger would resonate far beyond Slapton Sands. Allied planners scrutinized the failures with intense detail, recognizing that even minor miscalculations in equipment, timing, or communication could escalate into catastrophe on the battlefield. The tragedy forced a reevaluation of amphibious operations. Landing craft were improved, navigational protocols standardized, and coordination between naval and ground forces tightened. Every procedural weakness exposed during Tiger would be addressed before the monumental D-Day invasion less than 2 months later. Yet even with these improvements, the psychological impact on surviving troops was profound. Soldiers who had faced the chaos of Slapton Sands carried the memory of friends lost to circumstances they could neither predict nor prevent. Letters and memoirs from that period reveal men haunted by the randomness of survival and by the haunting question: how close had they come to disaster in Normandy itself? For decades, Operation Tiger remained largely classified. Official reports downplayed the disaster, focusing instead on the strategic necessity of rehearsal for the upcoming invasion. Only in later years did historians uncover the scale of the tragedy, piecing together eyewitness accounts, official records, and medical reports to reveal the full story. The incident also highlighted a sobering reality of war preparation. Even the most meticulous planning could not eliminate risk. The line between practice and combat could vanish in moments, leaving chaos in its wake. Operation Tiger was supposed to be a rehearsal. Instead, it became a grim prelude to the sacrifices awaiting men on the beaches of Normandy. As the smoke cleared over Slapton Sands, the Allied command faced the difficult task of assessing the disaster and preserving the lessons it offered. Maps were marked, reports compiled, and survivors debriefed. Every mechanical failure, miscommunication, and navigational error was scrutinized. Each death was weighed not only in human cost but in operational insight. The tragedy of Operation Tiger became a silent teacher. Planners realized that even in rehearsals, the unforgiving nature of war could not be tamed. Landing craft needed better maintenance. Coordination between naval and ground units had to be flawless. Live-fire exercises required strict timing and clear boundaries. Every weakness exposed at Slapton Sands would inform the monumental D-Day invasion that followed, helping to prevent a repeat of such catastrophe on the shores of Normandy. Yet the emotional scars of Tiger could not be quantified in reports or charts. Survivors spoke of the sudden terror in freezing water, the screams that blurred together, and the helplessness of watching comrades vanish beneath waves. For them, the rehearsal was indistinguishable from real battle, a bitter prelude to the horrors that awaited on June 6, 1944. Operation Tiger also serves as a historical warning. Preparation, no matter how thorough, cannot eliminate chaos. It reminds us that war is as unpredictable in rehearsal as it is in combat. The unseen forces of nature, human error, and mechanical failure can turn even the most meticulous plan into tragedy. Today, the story of Slapton Sands is largely overshadowed by the glory of D-Day, but its lessons endure. It was a rehearsal soaked in sacrifice, a stark reminder that victory demands not only courage but vigilance, precision, and respect for the unforgiving realities of war. Operation Tiger may have been a rehearsal gone wrong, but it forged the Allies into a force ready for the largest amphibious assault in history. The soldiers who survived carried both grief and knowledge forward, ensuring that the beaches of Normandy would not repeat the mistakes of Slapton Sands.